Every few years, a shoe comes around that develops a cult ethos, becoming a classic instantly and beloved for many years beyond its expiration date. One of those shoes is the Adidas Adios Pro 3. And I believe that I might have found a perfect replacement. Today, I'll be taking a look at the Anta C202 7. I'm a little underdressed, so I'm gonna get this over with really quick. I'm in the Anta C202 7, as the introduction says, and the first step in this feels really nice. Just feels comfortable to stand in. The foam is like almost memory foam-esque just standing here. And I also feel like this is borderline negative drop, but really mostly just feels zero drop flat across the bed, even though it's not supposedly a 6mm drop. But that's just what it feels like standing in it. Is very, very flat. I like it a lot. The lockdown seems incredibly good right out of the box. Didn't have to do a lot of tampering with it. The upper is extremely breathable, so my feet are very cold right now. It's gonna warm up through the run, so like outside temperature wise, and so that's why I'm a little underdressed, because it's a longer run. But I need to get on the road and start talking to you about it, so let's go. I immediately realized that the wind chill is going to make it too cold to be in just what I was wearing, so I got another quarter zip. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but hopefully I'm not freezing the entire run. This is already marginally better, but yeah, wind chill makes a huge difference. I'll give you like a quick first thought on the shoe right now. But I don't want to give any like of my emotion behind it away yet, especially since I haven't really developed any emotions behind it yet. But yeah, it feels firm underfoot, but like I'm getting the dual density of the foam immediately, where the top layer feels like I'm sinking into it, but the overall ride doesn't feel very plush. And the fit is great. This is one of the best fitting carbon plated shoes in the first few strides that I basically ever tried on. Which tells me I might just start buying things in a size 10 from now on. This is like comically long on me in a size 10, but the way it feels, which is what's important, is it feels like it fits better than a lot of shoes that I have in a size 9. So I'm gonna get to running for a bit, and I'll have a more evolved view for you when I next see you.
Trade your body needs to chug along faster. Trade your mind like a monk for a pastor. Trade your gears to crank it like a bastard. Trade your heart to lose the marathon you master.
I'm starting to have a pretty decent read on these. About 3 miles in, roughly, and it's loud in the city. For the first couple of miles, like 1.5 probably, I was struggling with like a foot tingling, going numb in my feet, and I wasn't sure if it was the cold or if it was the shoes, but I loosened them a lot, and the foot tingling definitely went away. So yes, the shoes were causing that, but whenever I'm breaking in a new pair of shoes, that generally happens. So now that my feet aren't going numb anymore, the prevailing sensation in these is firmness, snappiness, direct energy conversion. So like you land and you're gone immediately. There's no like real compression, so to speak, or at least not that I could feel. It's a very rigid shoe, which could be a really good thing if you like that sort of thing. And it's actually kind of reminding me how much I do like that sort of thing occasionally. Not the rigidity so much as the firmness. It just is, it's very stable as a result of the firmness. And I'm running in all of these unstable super trainers that I'm very used to, so I don't even really think of them as unstable. But then when you put something like this on your feet, where full extra long plate and dense foam, it's a whole different feel and type of shoe, like entirely different than what I'm normally running in these days. First shoe, oh god, jeez, this wind is intense, man. The first shoe that comes to mind is Adios Pro 3. So this can be compared to, because the density of the foam is so similar, and the rigidity as well. This is potentially even more rigid. Alright, this is going to be a windy one, but I am going over the bridge at High Falls. But man, I gotta come out here more. This is one of the best places to run in Rochester. It's not always plowed, so there's that, but it's just a beautiful day. They're working on developing the state park beneath. And when you get views like this, that is why we run. Rochester has its flaws, but the natural beauty of this city is basically unparalleled. Potentially anywhere in the world. While it has been extremely windy today and the sun has yet to peek its gorgeous yellow self from outside of or behind the buildings, the Anta C202 is feeling great on foot. It is very firm. It reminds me so closely of the Adios Pro 3, except with a fantastic upper and better lockdown. It doesn't feel like the lightest weight shoe in the world, and I wouldn't personally want to race in this, but I think a great deal of people could race in this. I haven't put any sub-marathon pace into it yet, and I really, since being back from the marathon, have barely put any marathon pace into anything. Just a couple of strides here and there, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this run so far, except for the wind. Okay, let's take a brief moment to reflect on what the shoe actually is. Anta C202 is a speed trainer. It's not positioned in their lineup as a carbon race day shoe, although it for sure could be. They're positioning it as a tier below that, which I think is really a good strategy. And the price point of $130 This is not ordering from China. This is Anta's US website. That's crazy for this. This is like basically 2 generations ago of top tier racing tech, which in those 2 generations, not a lot has happened, at least for innovation. I mean, this year, towards the end of this year, with all the ATPUs coming out, sure. But this is still relatively new tech, and I can tell you from running in it so far, it's a very capable shoe. Not slow at all. Perhaps slightly heavier than the current, A-tier racing shoes, but it's $130. And they're not even calling it a racing shoe. They're calling it a speed trainer. I'm telling you, this compared to the speed trainers on the market, that first of all has a carbon fiber plate, and I haven't run in a ton of plated speed trainers, but this is better than the Mach X3. This is better than the tier Valkyrie Speedworks. I'm trying to think what else I've run in with a plastic plate. I know there's something. It'll come to me. One of the things to note with this and any full-length carbon plate shoe is that it can have a more jarring feeling to it sometimes, and it's not unique to this one. It's like every full-length carbon plated shoe for me, the Metaspeeds included, and I absolutely love those shoes. And that's one of those things that I think the rods from Adidas actually help with a little bit, is it's slightly less reverberative, because I don't know, I'm totally guessing here, but I think the rod shape in the rods is better able to defray the vibrations of the jarringness of carbon rigidity, whereas a fully flat or scooped or whatever morphology carbon fiber plate, you have all this surface area that's sort of running parallel to the foot, and so it reverberates across that entire surface area, whereas the rods, the surface area also takes place in 3 dimensions or underneath the foot. I'm totally guessing, I don't know, but yeah, this is I would say just slightly more reverberative than the Adios Pro 3. Yeah, but the foam is it just keeps going and going. This is going to be a workhorse. I could tell already that I'm going to use this for many, many miles. Eventually, this running shoe review thing is going to get more and more challenging, because I'm going to have to start letting go of some shoes before I really am done running in them. I really want to get the Mega Blast up to 300 plus miles, because I want to know, for the people who are going to run in it as their primary shoe, I want to know how far it could go, and just how much value you're getting out of a $225 shoe, right? And then there's so many shoes like that. Like, I want to keep running in the Takumi Sen 11, but what's the point when it's not something people are interested in anymore? And the opportunity cost of testing other shoes, same thing I could foresee eventually with this shoe. I want to run in this a lot, and I will, but at some point I'm gonna have to let it go. I know this is just the first run in this, so plenty of time yet to be in this shoe, but when you find something you like, for me at least, when I find something I like, all I want to do is run in it. And yeah, I'm really liking this so far. It's sort of like a no-brainer, but a fast no-brainer. I've definitely been locked in to around 7:30 pace, maybe 8 pace for a while. And that's just what I'm looking at on my watch. But it feels very easy to lock into a given pace in these, which is what you would want for a marathon or marathon training all day. And it is starting to warm up outside, which I'm very grateful for. The wind has been like a sudden gust whenever I turn a corner. It feels like it's knocking me on my back. But this is a nice little sheltered area, and I appreciate it. So I think what it is about the C202 so far is that I can see myself hyper-fixating on it as a shoe, because I do think that other than deliberate recovery runs, I've been finding so far the pace range is pretty broad. Like, I started out at 9-minute miles, probably not moving speed, but with all the camera shots, so probably around like 8:30 or something. And getting it down today to about 7. And I know it could go quicker. I just can't go quicker right now, as I've been experiencing that for the last couple of weeks. But this would just be really easy to reach for me on a wide variety of days and runs. And like the Puma Mag Max, for example, I think that's a great shoe, and I've been pleasantly surprised by it. But that one I'm not worried about hyperfixating on, because I don't run slow very much. And so like I wouldn't be worried about saying goodbye to the Mag Max, partially because I'm not gonna have to say goodbye to it, because I'll run in it intermittently over the course of the next several months, probably, slowly climbing it up to 100, probably 200 miles just on recovery days. But with a shoe like this, yeah, I could see myself just only running in this for a week, which is high praise. But if I'm going to be making nice videos for you all, I don't know if you want to see the shoe for a week. I don't know, let me know. Maybe you do. I guess I'm climbing Cobb's Hill. Sometimes my legs just take me in a direction. This wasn't really the most conscious thought. I just started going this way. Gonna be a hard hill climb, but at least I'll be warm and out of the wind. Cobb's Hill always gives you one of the best views of the city, and this camera is not going to do it justice, but in the winter especially, it'll get a really nice look. Hopefully I can do something to make that come out for you all. So I'm at about 12 miles, and this is one of the nicest runs I've been on in weeks, not even from a shoot perspective, which that always helps, but from a like sheer enjoyment perspective. Yesterday was a really rough day. Run club it was nice to see everybody, but I was not doing well the entire run club. Like, my stomach was not feeling quite right, and my body was just like sluggish to respond, and that was yesterday. So, and then the rest of the day I was just like tired, like fatigued, really fatigued. And I'm wondering if maybe it's my body adjusting to going to the gym and lifting more regularly. Could be a part of it. Oh, this is my former roommate's former best friend's house, and you could see there's no house there. It's because it burned down while he was living there, and not like, well, he wasn't inside, thankfully, but yeah, it burned to the ground, and now it's just a lot. Man, I forgot about that. That jogged a deeply buried memory. Yeah, so a good run so far. Honestly, I really admire and am impressed by how much energy return I'm getting. I mean, tactily, said I'm not measuring it scientifically, but it feels very energetic while not being chaotic. And that is an enormously hard thing to accomplish with foam. I think the price of that bargain is firmness, but I like firmness, so it really works. Getting towards the end of this run, I feel great altogether. The one little thing that I have to mention is my forefeet are feeling fatigued, but again, this I think is a symptom of the extended plate in this, and really, like, any full-length shoe, full-length plated shoe that's really rigid, I've had very similar feelings in the forefoot on extended efforts. This is just a little firmer, so maybe I'm noticing it slightly more, but it is not like a detracting from my run. In fact, I've been pretty zoned out for the last couple of miles. It's good to get in the zone. I was just debating between cutting it at 19 or getting to 20, and then I noticed that the path over to the building has all melted. So we are about to, I believe, conclude or begin the falling action of the building saga, because I am looking in the distance and I am seeing rubble. So stay tuned, because we're going to the building. Well, there you have it, everybody. The building is almost completely destroyed. That's pretty crazy. I never expected to see it. The saga winds down, but a new saga begins, because this whole area should, if they actually do it, become a park. What type of park? I don't know. But I hope it has a dog park area, because I could walk the boys to this. Or at the very least, we could drive and then they would be able to more regularly explore this beautiful zone. Find all sorts of delicious debris to ingest. I almost never stop when I'm this close to home, but look at the way the ice is formed. Like, that's like really shardy minefield. It's gotta be as a result of the wind freezing the waves. Man, that's cool. That's some cool ice formation. The sun has come out, just for the recap. So yeah, that was 20 miles. I think I said 8:23 pace. Just a slower long run for me, but that's probably what I should be doing right now. And I felt great during it, so it was perhaps a little bit slower, but perhaps that's what my body needed today. And yeah, it felt really nice. These are going to be in the rotation for quite some time, the Anta C202 I hope I've been saying that name right this entire time, because that's just a robot name, not shoe name. And I already have a hard time with names as it is, and when you name your shoe after a robot, it's really hard. Or a printer, maybe. Yeah, the prevailing underfoot feel was firm, stayed firm the entire time. I'm curious to see how that changes over time. The drop didn't really feel like 6. It didn't really feel like, I couldn't tell you. It felt flat or like, but obviously it wasn't overworking my calves. And there was a study, I hope that I'm not misquoting it, but it was that the upshot of the study was that carbon-plated shoes offload your calves a little bit. I don't know. I don't have a source on that right now, but yeah, it didn't feel like I was working my calves particularly hard. So obviously the stated 6 mil drop is probably around where it is, but it was really hard to tell. The foam is super dense, so anytime you have like a super dense foam and enough of it, getting a good gauge of what it feels like to land, where it feels like you're landing, whether you're landing the forefoot or the heel or the midfoot, it's really hard to tell when it's just like, yeah, it's just a big slab of foam under your foot, and especially when there's a plate, for me at least. Some things that I was worried about ahead of time is the really stretchy laces, and I'll touch on that back in the studio where I could show you, but they stayed tied the whole time, were not an issue. Generally, like, I'm concerned whenever there are stretchy laces like that, but no problem there. Yeah, I felt great. I only had 2 gels, which is more than last week, but I think it made a really big difference. And I was definitely starting to fade towards the end. Just really slowed down once I once I stopped to show you all the building. My body was just like, oh, we're done, right? Right. So, yeah, Anta C202 first run, 20 miles. Really enjoyed it. Let's get back to the studio and talk about this some more. Straighter. Come on, guys. Push. Hello, everybody. I am back in the studio with the Anta C202, and this is a wild shoe. It brings back fond memories of shoes that have long been dead for me, or a shoe in particular that's long been dead for me. And before we get into all of what I liked about it, what I think that people need to know about it for making a decision on purchasing, I want to be a little bit more structured in this review. So first, we are going to dive into the specs and materials. Okay, here we are in Anta's website for looking at the specs and materials. The first thing that they make note of is the A-web upper, which is this really loosely meshed, plasticky feeling upper. They consider their logo, I guess, the locking system, the Halo upper locking system. Not all that interesting. The thing that you'll notice is that this is a full XL carbon plate, and extra large is what they say, but it's actually really just extra long, the plate. And that's something that I'll showcase in a moment when we take a closer look at the shoe itself, and they'll have a little bit more on the specs there. But it definitely is a very rigid shoe due to this extended plate. Then it says dual layer nitrogen technology. Now, I don't know what type of foam is actually in here. There's really only one of two things that I believe it could be. I think it could either be a TPEE, and that's what it feels most akin to. Or I think it could even be a supercritical EVA, but like a really good supercritical EVA. I'm not sure because it's not listed anywhere, but if I had to guess, I would say it's probably a TPE, and a particularly dense one at that. And then the final thing is the outsole, the liquid non-slip rubber. To the touch, like tactily, the liquid non-slip rubber feels a lot like CPU, but that's not stated anywhere, so I don't actually know that. Next, getting into the dual layer nitrogen technology. They're talking about the supercritical process here. That's what they're basically saying. It is actually a dual density, so you'll see that the lower portion has stable rebound, quote, and the top midsole is soft, bounce, and cushion. I did notice standing in it was a lot softer than the experience on the run, and it was a really nice step-in feel, to be completely honest. I talked about that a little bit earlier on in this video, but yeah, it's really nice. And their foam is, let me see if I can find the name of it. It's so their convention is the N85 that you see. It means it has 85% energy return according to their own lab, right? So they're tiering their foams at Anta from 80, 85, and 90, and those foams are how they're stratifying their super foam lineup, just by telling you exactly what the energy return that you're going to get is. Now, is that peer reviewed? No. So they could just be totally making it up, but let's go with it. Let's just, drink the Kool-Aid here. A little bit more about the full length carbon fiber plate. They pulled this out of the C2026 Pro, is what they're saying here. And it's actually technically an illegal plate because it's not considered a one-part plate system. And I knew this going into the run, that there was this weird little lever thing going on here. But, I didn't notice that doing anything on the run. Perhaps it does, and it's something that I can't, notice physically, and maybe it does something, or maybe it just doesn't do anything. I don't know. Maybe they need to cut out some weight, so they cut out a component of the carbon fiber plate. But the extended part of the plate that goes really far back in the heel, I'm not going to say that that was noticeable, but what was noticeable was this is one of the most rigid shoes that I've run in. So that's enough about the plate. And then that's all that we're getting from their website. Back up top, ditch the glasses, and back to the shoe in general. Talking about the extended plate, you could see back here that there's this lip on the rear of the shoe, and it doesn't extend super far, but the plate is indeed coming out back here. It's jutting out of the back slightly, similar to I believe the newest Primex Strung does this, the same thing. And I don't know if there's really a reason for that, if that contributes to stability, or if it's simply a design choice. I don't know. And I don't think it really made a difference in the way that the shoe felt underfoot. other than potentially the total rigidity of it. Like, this is I'm not messing around here level of, that's a rigid shoe. This is a really rigid shoe. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the materials here. So looking at the upper, you could see just how transparent it is. The mesh is very loose and very, very breathable. My feet were so, so cold at the beginning of the run. So much so that I thought I might have had it tied down too tight. And I do think I had it tied down too tight, and maybe that was causing some numbness in my foot. But I don't know if maybe if it weren't so cold this morning, if that numbness would have been so much of a factor. I did have to stop and relace these one time, but once I did that, it was good to go for the rest of the 20 miles. So that's a pretty solid. Normally with new shoes, and longtime followers of this channel will know this, I'll generally on a new shoe retie it like 3 or 4 times in a single run just to figure out where everything sits. Today it was once and it was done, and that's a great sign for me. I did order this in a size 10, and in a size 10 it weighed in at 225 grams. And I couldn't find on Anta's website the stack height and heel to toe drop, but luckily a very talented reviewer named Huai already reviewed these, and he gave the stack height of 34 in the heel and 28 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. I'm sure that he found these stats somewhere and didn't just make them up, because he does really good research on all of the products that he reviews. So I'm using him as a source for the stack height and drop. And so that's the materials and specs. One last thing, the laces on these are a little bit stretchy. I don't know if you could see, like, not even a little bit stretchy. They're very stretchy. And I was concerned about that at first, because whenever you have stretchy laces, there's a propensity for them to become slightly looser over time, or like the shoe to adjust its fit over the course of the run. Didn't happen. Don't know how. Normally with laces like that, I have that problem pretty much every single time. So no, not a problem. Yeah, and ample heel padding. And it's actually it bends here at this pivot point for the heel counter, but it's pretty rigid altogether. It's like bendable, but still a pretty sturdy, rigid heel counter for a shoe of this nature at the very least. Okay, so that's it for specs and materials. Let's move on to the fit. This fit really well in a size 10, and it's making me consider buying more of my shoes in a size 10. They fit big because my feet are only at longest on my left foot, or on my right foot rather, at longest my feet are a 9.1 in actual length. So generally a 9.5 should fit me correctly on both feet very accurately. The issue is that a lot of shoe manufacturers make shoes too narrow in the forefoot, and I've just had that happen too many times. Like, my correct length is a 9.5, but my correct width for the forefoot on my right foot in particular seems to just be better as a 10. And so I had quite a lot of space in the front of the toe box in these shoes, because it's a size 10 and not a 9.5. And that's basically a full size bigger than my actual foot, but it was fine. And I'm starting to notice that that's a recurring theme for me. And I think I'm going to be, over time, gravitating towards buying shoes in a 10 rather than a 9.5. But I will make notable exceptions, because in the early reviews of the Puma Mag Max 2, for example, people said that it actually fit relatively wide. And since that was the feedback that I got, I ordered that in a 9.5 and have been satisfied with it in that size. So that's a lot about me, but this is the journey that I think a lot of runners might not feel equipped to go on. And I would encourage you all to play with sizing a little bit and then figure out what works for you, because I never thought that I should ever wear a 10. That's way bigger than my foot. But having done it a few times, I'm finding better results in a size 10. So what does that impact for fit? That impacts probably a lot. I think that this probably could have worked in a 9.5 for me because maybe the platform is slightly too wide in the forefoot, but I didn't have my foot moving around at all. It was actually just such a secure lockdown right away as soon as I put it on, and obviously I had to readjust my foot, the lockdown of the laces the one time at the beginning of the run because my feet started to go numb. But when you have a new shoe, like it's stiffer than it will ultimately end up being down the line. And, you don't know how tight you need to tie it because you don't know how much give the upper material has. You don't know how much your foot's going to shift around on the platform. So I tend to tie it pretty tight and then dial it back a little bit when I get a new shoe. Um, so yeah, fit was incredible. The standing outside, like on flat ground, it actually felt really, really flat, like almost zero drop, potentially even negative drop if I was rocking back on my heels at all outside. And I know I brought this up already, but yeah, I really like the way that it feels just standing in this shoe. It's almost like a weird memory foam feeling because and even when running in it, it's almost memory foam feeling because I don't feel like it's soft at all while I'm running in it. But when I'm standing still in it, I do get a slight cradling, sinking feeling. And now I know we're stepping on the next section a little bit, but it contributed to the nice feeling fit. Didn't have any heel slip, and with a shoe this rigid and with the plate in it, normally I will get a little bit of heel slip no matter what. Not sure how they were able to manage that feat of engineering with this because yeah, when you have such a rigid lever of a platform, like it's like a board strapped to your foot, the heel is connected very, like, the point here at the forefoot where you're landing on the ground is connected to the heel here, and the heel is connected to the heel collar, right? And so when you land here, it's like a lever that flings you up. And so the heel has more connection with the shoe. Like the shoe is as a unit more connected to itself. And the lockdown would require more like tension to connect your heel, your like leg and heel to the heel collar itself, right? So it creates this like a little bit of air gap, not necessarily an air gap, but a gap between the assembly of your leg and your ankle and your foot and the shoe, which is all very much connected to itself. But for whatever reason, I don't know what they did to accomplish the lack of heel slip in this, because typically, like I'm saying, in much more rigid shoes, it could be a much more challenging thing to get a good fit and a good lockdown. But this was instantly pretty much perfect. So I'm really pleased with how this fit, and I'm pleased that I got it in a 10. Though I think I could have gotten away with what is true to size for me. But what is true to size for you is subjective, of course. All right, that was a long segment on fit. Let's go to ride. The ride on this shoe is so similar to the Adios Pro 3. The one differentiating, like, the one way that you could differentiate the two is that I do believe the C2027 is a little firmer. Like, and maybe it's just a matter of it was really cold today, uh, and I was in this for a very long time. But I think that to my memory, this is slightly firmer than the Adios Pro 3, but it has that extremely dense foam feeling where you're not necessarily compressing the foam all that much, but it's just so immediately like popping you off to the next part of your stride that you have this nice, like, it feels like a perfect, snappy, perfect cadence. It's like it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be landing and leaving your feet that quickly. It just feels, the immediacy to the midsole feels really, really nice. Now, some people might not love that as much. So if you love the Adios Pro 3, or other shoes that have that level of immediacy. I'm also thinking like the Metaspeed Edge Paris, not the Tokyo. Uh, that's similar, although that foam feels a little bit more compressive, I would say, and potentially even a little bit more jarring. This just feels like so dense and so immediate, which I just love it. I mean, I love finding a shoe that reminds me of one of my all-time favorites, and especially at the price point of 130 US dollars. And this is, like I said, out on the run. This is not shipped from China. I didn't have to do any calculus to figure out how to get the shoe here. It was literally on Anta's US website for 130 US dollars, and that's what I paid for it. Probably there were some taxes involved. I don't remember. But yeah, that's the MSRP on this. And yeah, we touched on the extended length carbon fiber plate. It has a carbon fiber plate, but this is in Anta's lineup, positioned as a speed shoe, not as a carbon plated racing shoe, which I think is really smart of them to do, because this, even though this would be competitive with the carbon plated marathon racing shoes of 2 to 3 years ago, it's really not competitive on weight or on like the newest new technology anymore at that level. But this, frankly, just blows all of the current speed trainers out of the water with the tech that you get in it. You have this incredible foam that's really, really snappy, and you have a carbon fiber plate where most speed trainers put either, rods, right? Thinking the Boston 13, or they mostly put plastic plates. So, this is definitely a more rigid shoe as a speed trainer than something like the Endorphin Speed 5. Although I haven't run in that personally, I have held it in hand, and this is definitely a bit more rigid feeling than that. But yeah, it's a little bit more high tech than those, and at a pretty good price discount of $130 compared to the shoes that it's directly stating that it's trying to compete with. Now, I don't know. I think that this could be functional as a race day shoe for a ton of people, especially if you're a bigger runner and can compress this foam a little bit more than I could. Right. So I'm about 145 pounds, like oscillating between 145 and 150. And I compress this sufficiently for me to get the pop out of it, right? So it's not like you have to be a heavier runner to use this, but I have a sneaking suspicion, and I can't confirm this, but if I weighed like, 10 to 20 pounds heavier than I do, I think I would compress the foam even more and get more of a propulsive feel out of it. So yeah, it rides rhythmically as well. It just sort of throughout the run, I forgot that I was wearing it intermittently. Where I was reminded that I was wearing it is, as with a lot of carbon fiber racing shoes, this has a bit of a reverberation to it, and it's like when you land really like hard on the ground, there's all of this energy, this shock that goes into whatever you're landing on, whether that's your barefoot, whether that's a daily trainer, whether it's a high cushion, max stack shoe, or if it's a carbon fiber racing shoe. So where is the sensation of that reverberation coming from? For me, where that's coming from is the plate acts as this like conduit for all of those vibrations, and all of that like vibrating energy is sort of blocked at the plate. But since you're running directly on top of the thing that receives those like reverberations, that bzz feeling, your foot can pick up on some of those reverberations. And that has happened to me in tons of carbon fiber racing shoes. Like both of the Metaspeed shoes, I've had that experience in the Tokyo and the Paris, more in the Paris for sure, because it's more of a firmer foam, right? A little bit in the Adios Pro 3, right? I think the rods do a slightly better job at defraying some of that vibrational energy. But yeah, I think overall, I mean, that's the maybe drawback to this. That is the drawback to a lot of carbon fiber racing shoes, but it was a little more prominent in this, and it's just due to the foam being so firm. And I'm curious. One of my curiosities with this is, does the foam break in? Like, how much time will it take for the foam to break in? How durable will this be? How durable will the outsole be? I don't know what liquid rubber means. I know that that's something that the Pro Evo 2 and 1 used, and nobody seemed to like that rubber in those shoes. It was too dry to get a read on this today. I mean, I didn't slip at all in it, but if you're making a shoe that slips in the dry, that's no bueno. So yeah, no slipping today, of course. But that's just a test that still needs to be conducted in the long term. Um, so let's go over, I guess, some of the more peripheral things about this shoe. I think the tongue is fine. It's like a almost a thicker. Uh, I think I have some better B-roll that I could throw up. But yeah, it's almost like a thicker version of the Metaspeed shoes tongue. It's like a, I keep wanting to call it felt, but it's like a suede or like a moleskin. Probably moleskin's the best example, somewhere between suede and moleskin. Style fabric, this is a little thicker than the one in the Metaspeed shoes, like pretty substantially thicker even. And then the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low also has a similar tongue. That one I think is a little thicker than this. So, but whatever, I didn't have any lace bite, and since these are the stretchier laces, I don't feel like I normally get lace bite from stretchier laces. Not normally. So the tongue and eyelet chain felt. I mean, I didn't even really think about it at all. I only had to retie it once, which is a really great sign, and then literally did not think about the lacing for the rest of the run. So that's awesome. The heel collar, similarly, like didn't notice it, don't have anything to say about it. This is not a winter shoe. I was so cold for the first several miles in this. Like, this is very, very breathable. So if you want a very breathable shoe, this is way too breathable for today, especially with all the wind. My God. I think this is going to last a really long time. This is the type of shoe that makes me want. I would run several runs this week in this shoe just because it's great. I mean, it's a really great shoe. I want to put some like real pace into it. I didn't get any faster than 7-minute miles out there today, which is, I guess that's my marathon pace these days. And yeah, I would like to get this down to 6:30 to see what it's capable of, because I do think it would do great at 6:30. It was also incredibly stable throughout the run. Like, I didn't notice it. It actually made me start reflecting on how I've been saying that the Dynafish Xiaonian is stable, and for what it is, the Dynafish Xiaonian is relatively stable, but man, that's like jello compared to this, right? This is rock solid stable. And yeah, I mean, I think that it puts into perspective that I'm used to running in pretty unstable shoes, and because I'm so used to it, I have a very skewed perspective as a reviewer for stability in shoes. So, if you're watching this and you were thinking about getting the Dynafish Xiaonian, just know that it's probably not as stable as I've stated it to be. I just so happen to run in a ton of pretty unstable shoes. And yeah, all credit to the Anta C202 for giving me some feedback as a reviewer that, maybe sometimes I'm a little biased in what I review and how I review it, because I run in so many shoes. I might just be used to more variety in the level of stability in my shoes. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is a stability shoe or anything, but there's a certain amount of, when you have a plate this is extra long, it doesn't allow for a lot of like squidginess side to side, and coupled with a really firm foam, again, that's another stabilizing element. And it's just a very secure lacing system as well. All of this comes together to provide a lot of stability without you resorting to any of the traditional stabilizing technologies like posting or even other, like, geometry hacks that make things more stable. So that is my first impression of the Anta C202 It's a stupid name though. So there's that. Uh yeah, thank you all very much for your attention, and as always, stay in motion. Good boys.